Alright, so let's get into charting the bass now. In the previous steps, we downloaded Reaper, so we're going to make sure that's open. We also have all of our stems split already as well, right? So now we're going to go into the part bass track here. This one, expand it. We're going to double click into the part bass track, and we can begin putting our notes here. I'm going to zoom out just like in the other ones, holding control and zooming. I'm going to turn off these labels here, in view, piano roll notes, show note names on notes, and this velocity handle, I don't want that, so we're going to remove that. View, piano roll notes, show velocity handle the notes. I recommend that some of these steps you do, you save off your template whenever you turn off these things. You know, when you get the project the way you want, you go to File, and go to Project Templates and save project as template. That way you don't have to do some of this repetitive stuff. Okay. A good example of that is one of the first things we're about to do here, which is creating MIDI from the bass stem. So this FX that we're about to do for this, you should apply this in advance, and then save that project off as a template like I have on my other projects. So how you're gonna do this is let me show you. You're gonna duplicate this track, okay? And on this one, we're going to do pitch detection on this, so that way we can see the notes that we're going to chart later. It'll help us guide here. And this bass video is going to be the shortest of all of them because the bass is really a lot easier to do, and this pitch detection usually works really well on this track since it's so isolated if you listen to it. So it's usually really well split out. So in order to get this modified, we're going to click on the FX button over here for the bass audio. Now remember, I've duplicated this. On duplicate, we're going to press this button. First, I'm going to name it. Let's see if I can stop playback here. Modified bass or anything like that, and then press FX. This is going to pop up, and this adding FX right here, if you do this step and you save off your template, then you won't have to do it every single time. So we're going to add in reattune. This is HOPOs. This is by the people who made Reaper. It's built in, so you don't need to download anything. For bass, so I went over this a little bit on guitar as well, but I'll do it again. The window size for bass, you want to have a little longer because the wavelength of these notes is wider. So you want to have a pretty big window size on bass, like 100 milliseconds. Okay. You'll see when I play that the notes appear here, which is fantastic. If you go into correction, it should be moving. In order to get this cleaned up, we're going to change the attack time to a lower number. Usually 10 or 20 is pretty good. I'm going to go back here. You want to check this box that says send MIDI events when pitch changes. That's why this wasn't moving here, because this has to be checked or it won't generate anything. And then the overlap, usually only do one times on bass because there's not going to be anything in the bass track except for the bass usually. So that should be really good, unlike guitar where there's like everything in there, you know? So bass should be good when I play it. Okay. I'm Mr. Lonely. So it's probably good to go just like that. You can go ahead and leave it as I've set it here. And that's good to go. We're going to close this now. And at this point, you could save your project template off, right? And have this extra track here empty and have the FX ready to go. So next time you can just drag your track there. And then all you have to do is right click on this and press apply track take FX to items as new take MIDI output. And when you do that, it'll just straight up generate the pitch detection for the bass here. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at what it gave us there. Really nice, really clean, really obvious what's going on with the bass here. That's beautiful. So you can take this, if it's really clean, sometimes you can just select it all, drop it into the part bass track, and then you can kind of clean it up from there if you like. But I don't like doing a cleanup a whole bunch like that. It's not terrible, but if you want to do that, you select all, copy, double click part bass, paste it in here, and then stretch and strengthen notes as needed. Also use the quantize button, which is like phenomenal. You press quantize, and you're gonna press use grid, so it's gonna align these to 30-second notes. So you'll see that more when we do the vocals, but that can be useful here as well. But for now, I'm just gonna leave it like a little messy like it is, because I'm just going to put this behind the bass, the same as I did on guitar before. That way you can visualize this, but I don't need to use these notes, so I can do it on top of it. And so here's what I mean by that. Right now, when I select part bass, if I double click on it, you'll see these tracks behind. That's because of the eyeball here on the right side that's toggled on. So you can check that to see other tracks. So what we're going to do is start charting here on expert bass for this. I'm going to probably pull up these notes though, which is the same thing I did on guitar. So that way I can more easily see the changes in the pitch while I'm charting. So let me do that. I'm going to go back to the bass. I'm going to Control A to select all. I'm going to click on it, left mouse, and drag up. As I'm dragging, I'm going to hold Control and Shift to make sure it lines up. Just get it up here anywhere around the expert area where we're going to be working at. That's fine, somewhere nearby so you can just see it. And let's get started. So that's how you get the MIDI out of the bass stem. Let's do this. Okay, so I'm going to solo out the bass audio here. Okay. Good. This bottom one with 2 takes here is not going to play anyways, even if you were to solo it, because it's playing the MIDI one now, so that you don't have to worry about that anymore. Just let it sit there. Sweet. So it's super clear to hear this. Like I said, this is going to probably be the shortest video because I love doing bass because it's so simple. Usually there's no chords on bass, so that's good. I will put bookmarks in the video in each spot that matters, and you can kind of skip forward to each part that something interesting happens, and I'll talk through what happens, but feel free to watch the whole thing or skip around if you like. Sometimes it doesn't get picked up properly in the AI. It's in another track, so say it's there, but the AI didn't split it properly. This stem split didn't happen, so we're just going to put it there. Okay. I'm going to turn on my preview for this. I'm not using it right now, but to turn on the preview, of course, you're going to click this FX button for bass audio. Excuse me, sorry. You're going to click this FX button for part bass. Okay, drag that over here. Okay, and then I like to use the other chart preview than this one. This one works fine too. You leave it on the mode for guitar bass here, but I like the other one that I talked about in a previous video by Dichotic Studios. I add that one. You just search preview, add that, and then go to change this to guitar. This is the same when you select for bass, you'll select guitar. And it just looks a little better. I like this one better. Increase my frame rate. I know my offset is around 110, my latency on my device. And you're going to put this on 170 tick, same as on guitar, because this 170 tick is what dictates the threshold for these hammer-ons and pull-offs. So these will automatically be generated if they're too close, if they're within 170 milliseconds of the previous note, and if the note changes. So this accurately shows you what's going to be happening in the generator when you generate this. Okay, these ones don't because see they're too far apart, but these ones will automatically do that, and that's based on this right here. And that should match whatever you have set in Magma, which is here, okay? So I would leave it at 170, don't change it. All right, let's continue charting. Put this in the corner. And this window resize is really weird. All right. Okay. So here you can see in the background it had some hard time detecting these notes. Some of them went into the guitar track, I believe. So I'm gonna have to listen to those. See, these aren't lined up perfectly, so even if you were to quantize these notes, you would still have to do a lot of cleanup because they're just not even close. But if you mess with the attack times and all that on your the rear tune plugin, and you can get it a little closer. I'm gonna force these off, so let me just type this. Because he's playing these 3 notes, like you can hear that they're plucked individually. I don't want these to be hammer-ons, so I'm gonna use this lane right here where it says force HOPO off, and so I'm gonna put a note right there. Now this note has to be the same duration as the note below it, like this. So that's how you make the hammer-ons go away. So it forces them to play it. Likewise, you can do the same thing by putting it in force the hammer-on, and that will turn it on, right? But in this case, I'm going to do that off. I can see the note is the same, these two green ones. So I'll leave that. This one's going to be a little tougher. This one should be much longer here. Okay, so let's talk about sustains. Same as on guitar, your sustains, as per the authoring guide from C3 from Harmonics, you want to look at that. It says the sustains, when you do these, they should be pulled back at least 1/32 note from the next note. So that gap is the minimum that you have to do, that you're supposed to do. But you can do a 1/16 note to give the player a little more time to get their finger moved off of that spot to the next one. So that can look nicer. You don't want to line it straight up to the next note. Definitely don't do that. It's going to look bad in game. And you want to try to avoid these little stubby ones like this right here, because those don't look that great either. So anything a 16th note or less will show up as a single note. If it's anything smaller than that, that's totally valid. But anything longer than about this much is going to start creating a tail, and you want to avoid those. So either have one or the other, you know. If you do, it's okay. I still do these, but I just don't do it like over and over again, right? Because it looks like it's kind of weird, you know. It's a judgment call, but that's how you do the sustains. If you're going to do a force hammer-on, which I'm going to do on this one right here, because the note he's pressing it, he's not sliding his finger on this. He's actually pressing this. He's actually plucking this again. So I'm going to do force hammer-on off, hammer-on pull off. And this has to be the same duration as the sustain underneath it. Cool. So let's continue. See, I'm just going to go ahead and let that little sustain there. That's fine. And I'm just doing these relative to, you know, the sound prior to it. So this is the same as this note right here. You can see by the line, this green line underneath it as well. So I know that's good. This is a repetition of the same note here. Now we only have so many notes here. You have 5 lanes, so we're gonna have to, you know, compress these down a little bit. And I didn't talk about this much in the guitar chart, but if you do end up running out of space, like when you're going up, like see how I'm going up higher and higher and higher. Let's say that I need to go up like beyond this. Let me see. So like, let's say if you're starting here low and then you're gonna go up, especially on like guitar solos. Let's say you're doing um, something like this where it's going up. You'll see this in the guide. It talks about, let's say they go up this many notes on the guitar. What you're actually gonna do is shift these notes down like this, and you're gonna try to stay inside of the red to blue range, um, like that. So it feels like you continue to go up, but you're resetting, going back down, and I guess it feels right when you play it, and it really does. So if that happens, like in this case with the bass, if I run out of notes going up, then, you know, instead of saying, well, I got to go up one more note, you know, what do I do? Do I just put it the same note? No, because it's not going to sound right. It's not going to feel right. So instead of doing that, you know, instead of saying, well, I have like two more notes here to go up, I will pull this all down, because you don't want to just cap this off and say same note. It's not going to sound right. So you're going to pull these down like this, and then you're going to do something like that. Okay, and this is in the guide as well. So you'll see this when you go up, or something like that, you know, and the same when you go down as well. Yep, so that's that. Let's continue though. I don't know if I'm going to run into that case here, but I'm getting pretty close to it, it seems. Okay, I'm going to turn on the rest of the sound here because it's getting really hard to hear this. Okay, cool. So I'm going to force these HOPO off. Another thing that can help you hear this stuff, if you're having trouble to hear the bass with the rest of the tracks playing, I could recommend changing your monitor FX. This is cool because it just changes how you listen to the song. It doesn't affect any of your output when you finally render the song. You can go in here and add in an equalizer so you can hear the bass louder. You can search EQ, do the Kakos one, RIA EQ, add it in there like I did, and then go in here and drag these lower ones up higher, and that'll make the bass sound louder. And so yeah, do that. It definitely helps. I already have one, so I'm going to remove this one. And then you can just toggle it on and off with this little power button here in the corner. So I use that a lot for hearing kick drums and the bass as well, especially when I'm using like smaller headphones. Okay. Yeah, these ones are fine. It's not. Since they're so far apart, it's okay that they're not like harmonically correct, like one higher than the other, because these are technically higher, I believe, but it's fine. Let me just listen to it one more time, just because I'm not gonna come back here later. I'm Mr. Lonely. Okay. Can select both with right click, extend everything at once.
I have nobody.
Okay, I can see this note is higher than this yellow, so you can see the orange here, so I'm going to put it above that, right?
I have nobody.
And the amount that it's higher, sometimes you can say, well, this is way higher, so I'm going to put a gap, you know.
I have nobody for my own.
Now this might be the same as before, and if that's the case, then we're already set. Let's see.
Oh, I'm so lonely. I'm Mr. Lonely. I'm Mr.
Yeah, so let's see if I can copy this over. So copying and pasting sections, you just you mark where you're going to copy it to, right? So like right here, okay, I'm going to remember that. You can put a marker down here, you can double click and add a text event, but sometimes I just select like this. I just left click and just highlight and say, okay, that's where I'm going to paste this at. And I'm going to right click to select all and press the delete key, and then I'm going to right click and select this as much as I can here, like as much as possible, and I'm going to hold, after I right click to select it all, now I'm going to hold control and left click on part of it, and that will copy it. I'm going to now hold down shift while I'm still holding control so I can lock it, align it with this row, and I'm going to put it right there where my marker was, so I wanted to copy it. To remove this selection, you can press escape and it will get rid of the selection.
I have nobody.
So here this one doesn't have this part, so even though you copied it over, you want to still listen to the entire thing, get rid of any variation.
I have nobody for my own. Oh, I'm so lonely.
Okay, so none of this is valid, but that's okay that I copied it. Better to copy too much than not enough, and then have to go back and recopy it again. So I always copy as much as I possibly can and go and delete it. Alright, so let's continue.
Oh, I'm so lonely. I'm Mr. Lonely. So lonely.
Even though I know that's higher, I don't want to run out of room here when I go up, so and then this is going to go down, right? And I'll let them have the hammer-ons here. So let's leave that. Nice. I can probably solo this track out now. Let's see if I can do that. So you can see this time he holds it to about here. You know, usually try to end it on the eighth notes, quarter notes, like in the grid here, and leave these gaps. That'll help you. This one he holds it longer. Go back and check this. I copied this one, so okay, yeah. This note is the same as this yellow one here, so I want to bring that down actually, and go back and do the same here. Okay, so let's do that. Stay consistent in the groove, you know. I guess this is dragged out, but let's listen to it. Yeah, it's like an echo. I think no. I'm just gonna leave it as a single note like that. Okay. So now we're going to get into the part where this is mostly copied, which is going to be a huge time saver, hopefully. Here we go. So you can kind of see that these are the same. We're going to right click and take this part here first. These notes are the same, right? So both red there. We're going to copy this part over, let's see, to about, I don't know yet. So let's see, let's listen to it first. Okay, so, oops. Cool, so this is pretty much the same. There's a note missing right here, and this part is not held as long. Okay, it's fine if they're different sizes as long as it's a 16th note or less. Let's see the note we missed here. So this is red, but like this note is the same as this and this note, but I want this to be on red, so we're just not gonna, you're not gonna tell anybody about that, and you're just gonna leave it, and you're just gonna send it, right? Because I don't want this to go down here or something that's not gonna be right. It's the same note. Okay. So this is all good. Checked all of that, so let's go to the next part. Okay, repetition again. So now let's begin copying again. Now, something I did on guitar too while you're doing this is you can play it. You can play it. This makes more sense while you're on the drums because you're copying smaller portions, but on the bass you can do it too. It's just harder. So what I'm gonna do is hold control and move this over while I'm playing the song. Oh. Okay, so this is basically the same, but he adds an extra note. And this cuts off earlier. So we're gonna need to add more in here, that's fine. Right there, he made a mistake, overplayed the bass, but we're not gonna put the mistake. Let's see.
Like, took all the
So if they make a mistake, don't chart the mistake. Just chart it as it was intended to be played. That's what it says in the C3 authoring guide as well. So, you know, unless he's doing this consistently where this note is late like that, then don't put that in there. Just leave it where it was for now. If he starts doing this on purpose every single time, then we'll do that. But for now, we're going to consider that as we're just going to give it to him, right? Because we don't want to throw off the player's groove. They're going to be like, why do I need to purposely make a mistake here? Okay, now I'm gonna assume that it goes back to the version over here without the extra note in between it, but let me listen to it and see. No, he's still doing the extra note. So we're gonna take this part here and we're gonna control drag it over. that part from earlier. Okay, we're just gonna fill in these oranges here. This is from the beginning of the song. He did the same thing. Okay, I think he's back to the same. Okay, and yeah, there's almost never gonna be chords on the bass. It's always gonna be single note. Back to the same groove again, but we don't want the one with these extra notes. We want this one here. I'm gonna listen quickly to all the tracks because this is not in the correct stem. Let me see. It's really faint. It's like it's almost not even there. Huh. Interesting. Perhaps I'll leave it out. There's something there. I'm gonna just leave it. It'd be more fun to have it there. Yeah, I don't know. Don't get obsessed with it. Just pick one or the other.
I woke up in the middle of the night and I noticed.
Is there an extra note here now? Seems like you see in the bass audio here. So now there's yet another one there. We're gonna pull this back a 32nd, you know, or more.
In the middle of the night and I noticed.
Yeah. All right. Cool. And now that note's gone. Now there's one missing here. Make sure it's not in the other tracks.
My whole life came crashing in.
It's not in the other tracks, so we get removed it. See, now this was much slower here. So he's putting some groove into it. He's not as consistent. Let's see. You can kind of line it up with these waveforms where they start over here. You can see where these start at. Sometimes these will be triplets. I'll show that just like on guitar, but I'll really quickly. If you want to do triplets, then you'll change this down here to triplet, and you'll be able to place them at a different spot as if you're playing triplets. You can kind of look up what that is online, but you can change the 16th triplets or 32nd as well if that lines up better with what the sound is. But in this case, I don't think. Let me see. I don't think that. Well, that probably is what happened. Let me see. Yeah, so I mean it's pretty close. So we could say that they're triplets. If you put them straight, they're going to be pretty close to where they were anyways if you put on 32nd notes, right? So yeah, and if you really want to be crazy, you can hold shift and then move these anywhere you want to put it, but I wouldn't do that. You know, properly identify if these are triplets or straight, especially if it's a long portion of the song, and get them in the right spot. Okay, so yeah, since this is such a short spot, it's and he only did this one time so far, so we'll see if this is intentional or what, but that looks pretty accurate to me. And then when you change it back, you know, your grid lines will move, so just leave them alone. I'm going to remove that just so I can come back and copy this section from before, because this is another copy section. I'm going to copy this section because I don't know if he's going to do that triplet thing again. see the bass line is much more consistent in it. But I mean, it's kind of cool though that he did an extra here. I'm gonna turn off the. There you go. Okay, so he did it again, see? So remember, I'm gonna go back there, we're gonna copy this over this triplet section, hold control to control and shift to align it, just control to copy. The order that you put the keys down on your keyboard is gonna matter, so don't get frustrated with that, copying stuff over. So let's take this again, maybe he'll continue to do triplets and that part throughout. And of course he didn't do it that time. Oh yeah, he did. Let me see. Yeah, so we just keep copying. This one is not held for as long. Okay, now this is gone, so I won't need this force hammer-on thing anymore. This one is pretty short too. Now that happened twice. I'm gonna check the other tracks and make sure it's really like that. Yeah. Okay. This one too. This section he just did short ones. I put you through. You're still stuck around and stayed by my side. Let's see if this part he holds it. Looks like yeah. Now there was a spot before where I wasn't doing triplets, so now I'm gonna go back and see if those were actually intentional. So let's take a look. Okay, so let's see. Now I can zoom in a little closer and play this slower. That will help us maybe hear whether or not this is on the correct beat. So, I mean, I can pretty much tell this is triplets, but this is how you change the playback speed here. You move it down. So it can really help on solos and stuff. So it's pretty accurate. The whole thing is kind of off. So if I wanted to go up and check my tempo markers and make sure that's aligned, you know, but the drums is pretty much aligned here. The bassist is just a little late on that. Can't really see with the guitar, and vocals often isn't on anything. They're a little late too, see? So considering that that's all a little late, let's see. Yeah, this one's definitely, we're gonna move these over to triplets. So I'm gonna change this grid to triplets. And you can adjust this slower, faster. If you want to preserve the pitch, then you can right click on it and have this checked, preserve pitch and audio. If you don't care, you can uncheck it. And when it slows it down, the pitch is going to be much, much lower. So yeah, we'll leave that on for bass. When you double click this, it'll reset back to normal playback time. And if you're really getting fast, you can speed it up, you know, if you're like copy pasting sections really, really quickly, and then this whole chart can be done super fast. But there's a lot of changes in these same bass riff that he's doing, so I'm gonna do this. Now, let's put these 16 notes. 16 triplets. Yeah, it doesn't really. It lines up better when it's straight. Okay, so let's keep these as straight because they're all about the same amount of distance off. Like this is off by this much, this one's off by a little much, this one's off by the same amount. So let's go ahead and leave those as straight like that. Okay, we're gonna go back and look at the other ones too really quick. Can't hear this one. Yeah, this was the one where you couldn't even really hear it at all, so. It does hear a note right here, so that could be. No, it looks bad. Yep, don't want to overthink this.
Like, took all the, like, took all.
See, these ones are much faster. Yeah. Yeah, this bassist just isn't as consistent as you usually see. Change these back to straight. Copy this over. Now I'm doubting myself on every one of these. Okay, we'll just leave it. This is such an easy thing, it shouldn't be this difficult for me, but because he's playing at a different speed each time, it's kind of confusing me which one I should pick. And like before I mentioned, you can line these up directly to the waveform up here, but that's, you know, you see these lines here appear above it, but that's really not, it's weird in game when it comes out like that. It's very weird seeing it, so you just have to pick one or the other, and the players are not going to be caring that much, and sadly the bass player is not going to be. No one cares about their bass player that much. Even though it's going to be much louder when they play, you know, because Rock Band like boosts the volume of the bass player when they get on there, as they should. And this is a nice bass groove too, so it's all good. This one's longer. All right, that's looking pretty good. Okay, there he's missing the middle note there. And maybe that's what happened previously too, which is what I was really going back and forth on, like much earlier. The one where you can't barely hear it. Like, I don't know. I don't even know where it is now. Oh well. We're here. Okay. Copy that over. So lonely, I'm Mr. Lonely. I have nobody, for my own, only. get that note in there. It can be like that, but I don't want it to look like that.
Been all about the world, ain't never met a girl. World ain't never met a girl that can take the things that you've been through.
So I'm kind of just looking up here and seeing like the lengths of each one of these sustains and deciding whether or not I should do that. Maybe it's overkill, you know, but whatever.
Never thought the day would come where you get up and run, and I would be out chasing you. 'Cause ain't no.
Okay, let's get that other note in there.
'Cause ain't nowhere in you. 'Cause ain't no.
Yeah, sometimes you could make these longer, but I'm not going to since I haven't been doing the whole song.
'Cause ain't nowhere in the globe I'd rather.
Let's go back to just the bass. Did I leave a 16th note or 32nd in the past? I guess it doesn't matter. In this one, I left the 32nd right here. Not really a big deal. Yeah, not a big deal. I doubt most people are even gonna go back and do this even. You're definitely not gonna really notice in game. You're gonna be singing at the same time. Let's see. Drops out. I'm gonna unmute those tracks.
So happy, but now so lonely.
Yep. Okay, so that's not there this time. We're gonna copy the section where it is there, from here to here. Just gonna hold Control and I'm gonna click it and drag it over. I'm gonna press Shift to make it lock in place and put it right there, I believe. Now, since this one is by itself, I can finally put it down where it's really supposed to be, which is the same note as the green one. Put back just to bass only, because this song is a bit repetitive. There goes the triplets again. 16th note triplets, let's see. Yeah, so these are like 8th note triplets, I guess. Copy it over. Now we're gonna need to put this one back to yellow again because it's the same note here as this one. So it doesn't feel weird. Now he's back to the fast version. Can't make up his mind. Let's move that over. Okay, it cuts out. I'm gonna trust that it does cut out there. Like, I don't need to listen to the other tracks probably. Otherwise you would like have some bleed through. He might be holding these sustains longer. It's just cutting out in the mix. Yeah, like it's pretty hard to hear it, so I'll leave it long because that one's gonna be weird if it's too short. Okay, I'm getting lots of times where he cuts off now, which is good. This is definitely a singer-oriented song. The vocals guide on this is going to take the longest amount of time. Did Did I copy the correct spot? I don't think I did. I wanted this here, and then there's the gap here. So let me see if there's a gap here. No, there's not any gaps. So I want one section without that gap. Just make my eyes gloss over trying to see the pattern here. This section is good. I'm gonna drop this down too. I mean to red, yeah. I want my 30-second notes back, just for looks. Triplets. Yep. Making sure I got that correct. Sometimes you play halfway through the song and realize, oh, these notes aren't really lined up the way you thought they would. It's coming together pretty well. And we are almost at the end of the track here. We're really close to the end. Okay, leave that as triplets. Double click to change the playback speed back to 1. Yeah, I could have made all these yellow ones here longer, but oh well, I just didn't, so that's fine. I'll test it in the future and see if it's still fun to play on the Xbox later on. And there's the final note. That we're going to put that on green since it's very low. Even though previously this was the red note here. It's whatever, it's the last note of the song. And the pitch detection picked it up for the entire duration. Let's listen to the whole track and see how long I should put it for. I'll probably put it back here. Yeah, it's fine. Just be aware that this is very long, so like when we put our end markers for this, it can't go beyond this. That note can't go beyond the end of the song. Okay, so we are done charting the bass. Now let's take a look at what we got to go back and finish off. Let's get these difficulties reduced. So that means we're going to put the hard, medium, and easy difficulties. It's going to be auto-generated for us by this cat script. You're going to press F9, which is here in the actions menu as well. If you press actions, so actions list is right here. You can press run here, but I like to use F9. It comes with the configuration that you set up when you first got this. You're going to press automatic reductions 5-lane here. This is another 5-lane instrument. Since you already have bass selected, it should have changed this to bass, but it didn't because I got here from I currently have bass audio selected, and I got here from clicking this, I believe, instead of double clicking on the right track. So double click on part bass, and then it'll get you in the right spot There we go. And turn off the lock icon. That's why those are showing. You can edit multiple tracks by having these lock icons selected like that. No, I don't want that at all. Okay, so we're in part bass. Press F9. You're gonna press difficulties. You're gonna press automatic reductions 5 lanes. It's gonna say bass here. I could have also just changed this to say bass instead of showing you that, but I just wanted to show you. And press reduce. So that's it. F9. Click that. Press reduce. You shouldn't have to change anything. It's going to automatically generate these. If these don't show up, it's probably because you have a MIDI note in the wrong place, like one of these ones it's not supposed to be at, or one of these notes is doing something really funky, like overlapping or something. So that generates your hard, medium, and easy for you automatically. You can preview them in your preview, you can change this to easy, medium, or hard, or you can do it in the other one as well. You can click on this. So you can see what it would look like on hard, for example. It just gets rid of some notes, like you see there's no blue or orange notes down here on easy and certain things like that. It has different rules. It's based off of the C3 harmonics authoring guide and the links that I sent. So yeah, that's pretty simple. Does that for you. Sometimes you can go back and fix things up and make it, a little change if you want to add something here for this or whatever. You can totally do that. Okay, the next thing that you're going to do here is the overdrive. So let's do that. Before I talk about the overdrive, these other things at the top here, the trill markers and the strum markers. If you have one note that's going really, really fast, for example, if this note was going really fast, like every 32nd note, then you would make this as such, and you would mark it as a trill. On the top, you would surround the entire portion with the trill marker. Let me change this back to expert so you can see it. And you'll mark this with a trill marker above it like that. You'll surround the entire thing with the trill marker. And that'll allow them to play that very quickly. And the scoring is more lenient for this. They can play faster than the trill marker and it'll still get full points for it. The same thing with, excuse me, I got this backwards. This is the strum marker with a single note. The trill marker is for double notes. So the strum marker is for a single note repetitively. If you do trill marker, that's for 2 notes back and forth like this. Okay. Same thing, they can go back and forth on this as fast as they want to without having any problems. All right. So that's trill marker and strum marker. The big rock ending at the end is the same as guitar, the same as the trill marker. You apply all of these at the very end, and then you put the notes after it that you want to play in order to collect those points. This kind of stuff doesn't show up on the preview here, but this is where the big rock ending will occur. Lighting will go crazy, and everyone gets a chance to play whatever they want to play. You still want to put notes throughout this part if you're going to do big rock endings at the very end, so that way the bassist will be doing something with their hands on the instrument while the big rock ending is going on. So you don't want to just leave this empty like this, because then they'll be moving around pretty fast because it's big rock ending, but they won't be moving their hands. So make sure you put notes underneath it when you do that. Okay. The final thing is, let's go to well, not final, but the next thing is the overdrive. Let me get back my notes here. I'm just going to add them back in because I know they were here like this. I'm going to get off my triplet mode here. Okay. Yep, so that's fixed. The next thing is overdrive. Since I already did overdrive on the other tracks, I can copy it over. So I'm going to do that now. If you didn't do the other tracks, that's fine. Just know that overdrive, you're supposed to have about 10 overdrive sections in one song, with 5 of them being unison phrases, meaning that they fire at the same time as the other overdrive for the other instruments. So I'm going to go into like probably guitar, or you can go to drums, and here's my guitar chart, right? And I'm going to right click on this overdrive lane over here, and by doing that it will select all of my overdrive markers. I'm going to press Control C, and I'm going to copy them. I'm going to go down to part bass, or up to part bass, and I'm going to paste it in the same spot. Now you can see, because I now have selected that track, the eyeball here is lit up so I can see the guitar as well at the same time. This is pretty useful, so I can see the overdrive of the other instruments. I'm going to also put on the eyeball for the drums so I can see where the drums has the overdrive set to here. You really need this because the overlap has to be exact or not at all. So you cannot like slightly overlap these zones like this. There's this one here, you can't overlap like this or bigger or smaller. It has to either line up exactly or be completely off of it, like over here. And that's why I have these two separated from drums and guitar previously like that. So I'm going to paste in what I copied from the guitar track. It's going to line up exactly. You'll see underneath here that they're all under there, right? And then I'll just go back and make sure that all these spots have notes, because a lot of times the bass didn't have notes in the song. So make sure, because if you do overdrive on a spot that has no notes, it'll give you an error. You can't do that. It makes no sense. And make them all about 1 measure long. Since this is a slow song, they won't particularly be 10 measures apart, but that's a good rule of thumb, is to have them about 10 measures apart. But that's just the rule of thumb. You can do however you like. Now, especially for the bass, you want to keep in mind these sustains. A lot of times bass has some very long sustains. This is a very short one. But if there's a very long one, you don't want it to get too carried away with giving them too much star power. So if I go over here to the end, let's say, and you're not supposed to put overdrive right here, but let's say you had like this. That's a lot of star power. That's a lot of overdrive they can get just by doing the whammy bar in this. So you might not want to give them that much and put it somewhere else, or unless you're intentionally trying to give them a massive amount of overdrive, especially if it's a unison phrase, because then they're going to get double during that too. They're going to get extra. So yeah. The unison phrases here. So this would be unison with the guitar because I pasted this over. But if I move it back here, then now it's going to be unison with the drums. I know that's there from a previous step, where you can put it by itself, however you want to do it. So I'll just put it by itself here. So there's not too many unison phrases because this is like a quieter song.
Yo, this one here goes out to all my players out there.
When you put the overdrive, make sure, of course, there's no like overlap of the sustain. So it either has to contain the entire sustain or not be in it at all. Like so, like this, where it contains it, or it has to be off of it. You cannot end it right in the middle like that. It'll throw an error later on. All right, so be aware of that. Keep that about a measure long.
Yo, this one here goes out to all my players out there.
Cool. Sometimes for really easy songs or slower ones like this, I'll make them work a little harder for the overdrive. So I may make these a little longer. That's like.
So I had to take a little ride.
Just make sure that you keep the other ones on, so you're not doing like this. Like I'd like to make this wider, but then look, the other ones, it's gonna have an error there. So no, I can't. I'd have to make them all wider if I was gonna do that, which is fine too. It's your choice. Or just make this not unison phrase anymore. But this isn't a super big deal. Like I say on the other tracks, overdrive is not really. You're supposed to put it in like action heavy parts of the song, parts that are really interesting in the song, like right before, especially the unison phrases, so it pops at a fun time. And try to end them on one of the beats, like don't end it at a weird spot like this, because when the phrase gets earned, you're gonna hear a weird sound if it's not in the right spot. So try to end it like that. But yeah, it's not like a major big deal. Some people just throw them crazy. I would say just don't put too many. Like I wouldn't put more than 10 because it gets excessive. It feels kind of cheap, forced. I don't know. So yeah. So I got them all kind of where I want them at. In a normal song, you'll be able to plan this more out, but in this one, I wouldn't spend more than a minute or two on this part of it in a typical thing, unless I was showing you like the video like this. Okay, so that is the overdrive. Make sure you don't have any overdrive in the last 12 measures of the song. It's not going to error. That's just like a rule. That's not a rule. It's like a suggestion, especially because they're not going to really have a lot of opportunities to use it at the end, so you don't need to put it there at the end. And that's overdrive. The final thing is going to be these animation markers at the bottom. Okay, so these text events down here to generate the animation markers for the character to move, it dictates, how intensely they're going to animate and dance while the song is playing. You're going to press F9 again to open the cat tools. You're going to click on Create Animation Events, and it should already be selected as base here. You're going to press Create Markers. That's going to create a play marker here, and it's going to create an idle real-time marker over here at the end. Now let me stretch this track out. You can't see it because it's so far. That's fine. It's right here, see? So this note is a little long. I'm going to pull it back in just some, just so we don't have this issues that bad. And I'm going to pull the track back. I'm going to zoom in and make sure I line to the other tracks. Okay. So at this point, idle real time is one of like the 5 markers you can have. It means that the bassist is no longer going to be idling to the beat. They're going to be idling, just swaying to the music, but not, or swaying but not to the music. They're going to be standing there, not bopping their head to the rhythm. Whereas regular idle, if you see like this, if there's a big gap, it'll generate one that says this. Regular idle, they'll be standing there, not playing anything, but they will be bobbing their head to the music, things like that, on the rhythm, Play is the default speed. The other 2 speeds or other 2 intensities of your character animations they can have is intense and mellow. As you'll see when you select it here on the animations events, you can choose what's the default that'll select, mellow or intense. You can see those on the guide as well that I linked. So this song is all pretty chill, so I'm going to put these as mellow. So this is how you would do it. Now, because I already did all this on another track where I picked some spots that are mellow, and then I go here and I say, well, this is idle right here, and then I could put mellow again, and then I could say it gets more intense over here, so I'm going to put play right here. But you can see where I have the other markers previously from other tracks. I'm just going to copy those over now. But this is how you would do it. You go through and put spots where you play idle and stuff like that. Now, give them about 1 measure or half a measure or so to get into the animation, because it takes time to get into the animation pose. That's why this one is generated a little bit farther back than being right on it like that, so it doesn't look weird in the game. So I'm going to copy over the guitar. I'm going to double click on guitar. I'm going to copy over the guitar animation markers here. Everything after this part guitar. Don't copy this track name. Don't ever mess with that, or you're gonna have issues. So leave that alone. This one you double click its track name, right? So don't change those. You want these ones, which are text events, different type. Select all of these, right click and drag. I'm gonna Control C and copy it. And it starts here on 2. So we're gonna go up to part bass, double click, and I'm gonna paste it right here in that spot. So now we have 2 mellow markers. So I'm gonna delete that one, scroll over, and 2 idle real times. I'm going to delete this one. Now this is kind of where the guitarist I had, where he's mellow here, and then he gets a little more intense for a moment, then idles, but idles still to the rhythm. Now the guitarist, there's no notes here, so that's why he idles all the way until here, but bassist does have notes, so he needs to be mellow like immediately. Okay, now this is such a small gap. I'm not going to have idle for less than 1 measure. That's just way too small. It doesn't matter. We're going to put mellow like right here somewhere. Even this is too small, really. Like, it's not necessary to be playing back to mellow within 1 measure. It's not going to be noticeable in game. Okay, so that's all mellow until I think the first chorus. Or, excuse me, this is the first verse. All this over here is like a intro prelude. So that's play. Then we go back to melody. Yeah, it's still play. But, I just moved. I just decided to make it up and down for this video. This one's kind of more mellow, so it makes more sense. And I put intense at the end just to show you that's the highest intensity. So that's the highest intensity, but this song is, normally I would only put this as play throughout the whole thing, and then some be mellow. So So that's the animation markers that you have at your disposal. And I don't use any of these left-hand things down here, so I don't deal with those. That's for like real bass or something. So that's the entire options that you have there for the bass chart, and hopefully that seemed pretty simple. A lot of times it'll be much more copy and paste where you're not really having to change things like I did. I thought this would be shorter, but every time I copy and paste, he was playing it slightly differently each time. That's pretty rare. But yeah, it happens. And even in that case, I mean, this didn't take me very long. So yeah. All right. See you in the next video.